We are kicking off today with Raw, as WWE will hold nothing back from tonight's premiere on Netflix from inside Los Angeles' Intuit Dome, with plenty of interesting plans locked in for the show. For example, there will be a full 360-degree seating arrangement and smaller streamlined entrance stage, as well as a brand new announce desk design, giving the show a fresh look. Legends including Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels have been confirmed to make appearances, and this will be a rare return for Hogan, who typically is absent from WWE TV. Logan Paul is also scheduled to be at Raw on Netflix in what will be his debut as an official member of the Raw roster after his signing was confirmed at the WWE on Netflix event. In a promotional video shared by WWE, a special drone show featured WWE and Netflix logos, as well as designs promoting Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, Rhea Ripley, and more. Interestingly, the drone display also featured Steve Austin's logo, giving a strong indicator that one of WWE's true icons will be a part of tonight's historic episode. With Austin living in nearby Nevada, it wouldn't be too big an effort for the Rattlesnake to make the trip and appear on the show that he dominated for years. With that said, Dr. Chris Featherstone of Sportskeeda has reported that talks between WWE and Austin fell apart, and while discussions could resume, the Rattlesnake can't make it for now. Austin or no Austin, The Rock, arguably his greatest rival, has confirmed his role on the show and informed fans on Instagram that he'll be part of the Netflix launch. Having the final boss is certainly a win for WWE, as his electrifying presence will add even more star power and has left fans speculating on what he'll do on the show. We know that John Cena will kick off his retirement tour on tonight's Raw, but during a Q&A on Backstage Pass, WrestleVotes refuted speculation that John will wrestle on tonight's show. There had been rumors that Cena would be facing Logan Paul tonight, and while the match has interest from both Cena and WWE, WrestleVotes reports that this isn't the right time. The report adds that WWE isn't looking to book Cena against Logan Paul at WrestleMania either, and instead want a more tenured opponent for Cena's final match on the grandest stage of them all. As for what fans can expect, Triple H shared on the SI Media podcast with Jimmy Trina that fans can expect some announcements from the 16-time WWE World Champion. He said, "I think on Monday night he's going to give a lot of clarity into what this year will be like for him. Cena is preparing for what'll be an emotional farewell tour, and it's fitting that it'll kick off on the monumental Netflix debut in what'll be a pivotal appearance. WWE is still ironing out the details of his schedule, but fans can expect Cena to share the key stops on his farewell tour, starting off with tonight's historic show on Netflix. But who do you think should be the right opponent for John Cena's farewell tour, and why? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments section." Over to AEW, as the Rock and Roll Express appeared on last week's Collision in a backstage segment with the Outrunners and FTR, but that wasn't the end of their night. After Rated FTR defeated the Learning Tree, cameras cut backstage where the legendary duo of Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson had been tied up by the Death Riders. The Outrunners tried to help the Legends, but were ambushed by Jon Moxley's crew, and the Death Riders had fled the scene by the time Rated FTR showed up. On social media, fans shared their issues with the segment, with one commenter even saying whoever thought this segment was going to be good, quote, needs to be fired. Another brought up the Faces, asking where the Death Riders had gone when the only door is 3 feet away, while one fan simply called the treatment of the Rock and Roll Express to be... The angle did seem odd, as the Death Riders were never seen attacking Morton and Gibson, but instead just tied them up and left without doing any damage to the pair. The Death Riders have a mission to save AEW, but fans are already poking holes in AEW's biggest storyline, and we'll have to see if the creative improves for the group going forward. On tonight's Raw, Seth Rollins will battle CM Punk, marking Punk's first match on Raw since 2014 in a contest WWE once had penciled in for WrestleMania. The feud between these two has been bubbling since before Punk's shocking return to WWE in November 2023, with both sides having spoke ill of each other over the years. Ahead of their epic collision, Seth Rollins sat down with Jackie Redmond, and while he wants to believe Punk has changed for the better, he isn't sure that's the case. I want to believe that this guy's a changed man. I want to believe that he's not the same dude that walked out on this company back in 2014. I want to believe those things so that I can root for him again, but he makes it really difficult. He makes it really difficult. Everything that he's done has indicated to me that in no way has he changed, that it's just this facade that he's putting on to make people think he's changed. It's like he needs to rehabilitate his image. Let's be honest, he hasn't had a great last 4 or 5 years. It's not been good for him, right? He's burned a lot of bridges. His reputation has been kind of smeared in specific areas. And I'm not going to go into details on that, you can look it up for yourself, but he comes back into WWE when it looks like all is lost and puts on this show, right? He's very good at that. He puts on the show, he's mature, he's a different guy, but I just don't buy it. And I think even if it's true, even if everything he's doing is not a show and he is a changed man and he's a better person than he was when he left, I can't move on. On last week's Raw, Rollins alluded to Punk burning bridges and made reference to his run in AEW that ended with his firing, though didn't mention the competition by name. For the record, there's been no reports of backstage issues with CM Punk since his return to WWE, with the Chicago star instead being very respectful and helpful, especially in NXT. This begs the question as to whether Seth is sharing his true feelings on Punk, or if this is just a work to add another layer of interest ahead of one of the most anticipated matches in years. Whatever the case, fans are ready to see Punk and Rollins face off in a match and storyline worthy of what'll be one of the most historic episodes of Raw of all time. Becky Lynch news now, and though her contract with WWE ran out in June 2024, many believe she'll return soon, especially after she was featured in promotional material for Raw. Now fans know what awaits Lynch back in WWE, as Ebu of Wrestle Purists reports that fans can expect a Becky Lynch vs. Rhea Ripley rematch very soon. The pair did battle at WrestleMania 40 last year in a match that saw Ripley get the win, and this news comes after WrestleVotes reported that Lynch will have a high-level role at WrestleMania. Ripley will challenge for the Women's World title on tonight's Raw, and should she win the gold, it's entirely possible that Lynch will return to confront her former rival. Whatever the case, Lynch's return seems to be a question of when, not if, and fans of Lynch and Mommy can expect a massive feud when the man comes around in WWE once again. Even with her lengthy absence from the ring, Lynch remains one of the biggest female stars in wrestling, but now the man is ready to demonstrate her acting talents. According to PW Insider, Lynch will play a golfer alongside NFL legend Reggie Bush in Happy Gilmore 2, a Netflix sequel to the classic Adam Sandler comedy. In addition to Sandler and Lynch, the film will include Ben Stiller, Bad Bunny, and AEW's MJF in a star-studded lineup of actors and professional wrestlers. Fans eagerly await Lynch's return to WWE, but in the meantime, they'll still get to see her on Netflix, and landing a spot in this film is certainly a high-profile role for the man. At Survivor Series War Games, Bronson Reed suffered an injury that has halted the momentum of the Australian, who'd been rising the ranks of Raw before this setback. On Twitter, Reed clarified reports about his injury, and while many have claimed that he suffered an ankle fracture, what happened is much worse than that. Reed shared that he smashed his talus bone in half and had surgery to repair it, which saw fragments of bone taken out and screws put in. Reed also had bone marrow transferred from his hip to his foot and explained that this injury means he won't be at Raw's premiere on Netflix. Similarly, fans can count out a surprise appearance in the Royal Rumble and don't expect Reed at WrestleMania either, which the Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner called the biggest loss. Reed ended by asking fans to keep up to date with him on social media and reiterated that this is a serious injury with surgery and serious implications and much more than a fracture. It's a real shame that Reed will miss out on many historic events, including tonight's Raw, and we're wishing the powerhouse a swift and easy recovery after this setback. At WrestleMania 40, Stephanie McMahon made a surprise appearance, fueling speculation about a return to WWE after she stepped away from the company in early 2023. At SummerSlam, Stephanie appeared in the crowd, but during the post-show press conference, Triple H said his wife currently did not hold a position within the company. On the SI Media podcast with Jimmy Trina, Triple H was again asked about Stephanie, and though he said he'd love for his wife to return to WWE, she is prioritizing her family. The Game said how they already have a daughter in college and the other two will be in college in the next 4 years, and called this current period a really formative time. McMahon is enjoying having some downtime with her family, and Triple H added that Stephanie has a lot of passions, including aiding with the battle against pediatric cancer. Despite her absence from WWE, Triple H shared that McMahon will always have a passion and teased that maybe you'll see her around, maybe on Netflix. Would you like to see McMahon back on WWE programming as a character, or do you think the show doesn't need Stephanie around? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Whether McMahon appears on tonight's show or not, Raw's debut on Netflix will be a stacked event, with fans eager to see what The Rock has cooking on the show. In 2024, it was rumored that The Rock was proving difficult to work with, but on the podcast, Triple H made clear that this isn't his experience with the Hollywood A-lister. On the contrary, The Rock has been super collaborative with the Game and Nick Khan, and contrary to what a lot of people want to think, will always do what's right for WWE. Triple H admitted that The Rock has a busy schedule that sometimes leaves uncertainty about how available he is, but added that the final boss is a game changer when he shows up. As a leading man in Hollywood, The Rock hardly needs WWE to help his already massive star power, and WWE is grateful for whatever time The Rock takes to make appearances. Reports and speculation continue to grow about what 2025 will look like for The Rock in WWE, and we'll hopefully get a much clearer picture after this week's historic edition of Raw. In the ring, Nia Jax uses her size and power to dominate her opponents, but the former women's champion's size proved too much for a ref after her match last week on Smackdown. In fan-recorded footage, a referee can be seen struggling to carry Jax to the back before the irresistible force pushed them away and made her way to the back without a title. At Wrestle Dynasty, Kenny Omega defeated Gabe Kidd in a brutal and bloody war, which marked Omega's first match since December of 2023. The match has earned plenty of praise from fans, with Omega showing no ring rust despite his medical-related hiatus, and it's not just audiences who were pleased. Fightful Select reports that New Japan officials were understandably very happy with the match, as the contest lived up to the hype and expectations. The match took its toll on both men, who were both bleeding heavily during the match, and at the post-show press conference, Omega still had dried blood on his hands and face. New Japan on Instagram also shared a photo of Omega still caked in dried blood, though the former AEW World Champion remained defiant after his first match in over a year. With Omega's return to the ring, fans are wondering what's next for him, and it's been confirmed that he'll be a part of this week's edition of AEW Dynamite. As for what Omega says or does on the show, that remains to be seen, but the former AEW World Champion's return kicked off perfectly last week at Wrestle Dynasty. Last year, Giovanni Vinci was ousted from Imperium and moved to Smackdown, and despite returning to TV in September, quickly vanished from our screens that same month. Taking to Twitter, Vinci teased his return, possibly with a new character, sharing the mantra of reset, rewrite, regain. In October, Fightful reported that WWE had no significant plans for the Italian superstar, and it remains to be seen what's to come of the Imperium alum after this week's tease. During the Wrestle Dynasty pre-show, a four-way women's match took place featuring ROH's Athena, AEW's Willow Nightingale, Stardom's Momo Watanabe, and CMLL's Persephone. Thekla joined Watanabe for the match and played a crucial role in the Stardom wrestler getting the win, granting Momo a championship match against the champion of her choosing. The tensions didn't stop after the match, though, as Stardom's Twitter account uploaded a video backstage where Athena accused Thekla of ruining her moment in the Tokyo Dome. Things quickly got physical, resulting in officials having to separate the two, and Thekla laughed and brought up their upcoming ROH Women's World title match at Stardom's January 13th show. That event will take place inside the legendary Korakuen Hall, and Thekla hopes to be the one to end the reign of the forever champion, who recently surpassed 2 years with her gold. Of course, that'll be easier said than done, as many opponents will attest, but these two weren't going to wait for the 13th to get their hands on one another. More from Wrestle Dynasty, as the Young Bucks won the vacated IWGP Tag Team titles at the show, kicking off their second reign, and they weren't the only AEW stars to win big. Mercedes Moné won the Rev Pro British Women's Championship from Mina Shirakawa, as the CEO continues to add championship titles to her impressive collection. Commentary news now, as Joe Tessitore has been a voice for Raw for a couple of months now, but now the ESPN analyst is joining Smackdown. Joe's final Raw role will come after tonight's historic show, where he, Wade Barrett, and Big E will host a Raw post-show before the broadcaster makes the move to the Blue brand. When it was announced that Raw would be moving to Netflix, many fans speculated about a change to the content, given that the show would no longer face regulations from TV. Some even speculated that the show would be similar to the Attitude Era, and while we're yet to see what the Netflix era will be like, fans shouldn't expect too much profanity. Speaking on the SI Media podcast, the Game criticized the use of constant profanity on TV, calling it lazy, and gave the Attitude Era as an example of profanity losing its luster. He said, "When you don't do something for so long, the smaller things can be massive. I lived through the Attitude Era where everybody was bleeding all the time, everybody's saying what they want to say, it's not edgy anymore, you look like you're trying too hard, you have to be disciplined with it." Triple H explained how Vince McMahon shut down constant swearing and violence at the end of the Attitude Era, which upset many wrestlers, but the Game thought it was a good idea. There was a moment in time where Vince very specifically said at the end of the Attitude Era, "We're stopping all of that, cold turkey," and everybody lost their mind talent-wise. I remember thinking to myself, this is a good thing. We all got lazy to the crutch of being able to do. It's easy to go swear and say other stuff and use language. Is it powerful? Yeah, but it's lazy. While profanity can be powerful when used sparingly and at the right time, Triple H believes that it takes greater creativity to create emotional, memorable moments without needing to curse. Triple H is proud to deliver a compelling product without needing the crutch of profanity or violence to engage fans, and believes this leads to better stories and a safer environment for all. Nick Khan has said that WWE will remain a family-friendly product on Netflix, and Triple H wants to focus on telling creative stories over using cursing and gratuitous violence for shock value. Triple H isn't interested in bringing back unnecessary violence or cursing, but wants to keep WWE feeling fresh and new without relying on the tricks of the past. Fans shouldn't expect profanity like we heard in the Attitude Era back, but the game is open to discussions about bringing back talent many fans would deem controversial. On the podcast, the game was asked if there's anyone he'd never bring back to WWE and said there are some who, due to what they've done, would be a negative to WWE to bring back. However, Triple H said he'd always be open to the conversation no matter who, and recalled speaking with CM Punk ahead of his return to WWE in late 2023. Triple H also pointed out that WWE was able to bring back Bruno Sammartino and the Ultimate Warrior, showing how differences can be set aside for the right reasons. Who would you like to see return to WWE that many have labeled controversial, and why? Share your hot takes down in the comments section below. And we're ending with Indy Hartwell, who in late 2024 was among those released from WWE, and in an odd turn of events, her departure was confirmed hours before her final match aired on a pre-taped Smackdown. Hartwell took the pin in a tag team match that marked the end of her WWE career, but this week, Hartwell shared a selfie on Instagram asking, "Do you miss me?" teasing a return to the ring. Under a 90-day non-compete clause, Hartwell will have to wait until January 30th before she can work elsewhere, but there may be further delays as the Australian needs to sort a work visa. Time will tell what Hartwell does next and where her wrestling journey takes her, but judging by her Instagram post, the former NXT Women's Champion is far from finished in the ring.